Hi, and thank you so much for joining me today for day 24 of 30 Days of Sketches with Christie's Beautiful Life, round 10. And today's sketch, which you can see there to the left of my desk, is created by Miranda Webber. Now, Miranda has created some mats on this sketch. It's a beautiful sketch, but I wanted mine to be closer to around the photo rather than spreading right out across the page, if that makes sense. And I'm just using one photo instead of two, but otherwise I'm staying pretty close to the sketch, if you can call that close, changing it like that. So I'm using the gorgeous new Pinkfresh Simply the Best collection for this, and it's a photo of myself, my husband and our children when we went on a trip to Northern Ireland back in 2012, and my father-in-law, Ross's dad, took us up to the North Antrim coast to the Carrick Rede rope bridge, which is a little rope bridge that spans the distance between the mainland and the tiny island. It was built about 250 years ago by fishermen because they used to go salmon fishing from this island and needed a way to get onto it. It's now a National Trust property and it's an amazing trip. It's well worth a visit. So I just wanted to document this because we left Bangor in grey, drizzly weather and got to Antrim in beautiful sunshine, and it's normally the other way around. So it was quite funny the way it happened. So as I say, I'm just building up my layers. Some of the layers are made from the 12 by 12 papers, and where I can, the little strips like this piece, I'm using the 6 by 6 paper pad. So just slowly building these up, and I've added a notebook edge to that second layer there using my EK Success notebook punch, and I've torn the bottom edge of that piece just to add a bit of texture to this group of mats. So I'm actually leaving one out because I've decided that I'm going to use a label for that across the top as well. So just messing about and fiddling and trying to make sure that I get it right. I think there's just one more layer to add after this. Yes, so I'm just going through the 6 by 6 pad because I'm pretty sure that I can use a piece of 6 by 6 paper for this layer. And it takes me a little while. I like this grey piece, but it makes it a bit too grey. Then I try this yellowy green. It's a bit more green in real life, but it's not quite the right tone. So now the stripe one, but again, it's not really what I'm looking for. So I decide to go with this blue piece. It's like a bluey grey, and it does work really nicely. So now that's done, I'm just going to start distressing the edges of each layer and sticking things down as I go. So here's the photo going onto that first mat, and then distressing the edges of this piece that I've made to look like a notebook. I think it was because it was like a ledger paper. I thought that might be quite cute to change that. So even though I've torn that bottom piece, I'm still distressing the edge just to keep everything the same. And again, just with my double-sided tape, getting everything stuck down and layered. And I'm doing all the maps this way because I want to add some mixed media underneath the photo and the paper layers. So this is the easiest way to do it if you create your layers onto the photo. So it's one big separate piece. If you've watched my videos in the past, you will have seen me doing this before. And then you can just simply pop it on top of your mixed media once it's down. And the mixed media, I'm going to use the Vicky Bootin Sweet Rush Wave stencil, because this is, you can see the sea where the rope bridge goes over the sea. I thought it was the perfect opportunity to get that stencil out again. I don't have loads of photos of the sea, so where I can, I'm going to use that stencil to make it earn its keep, so to speak. I don't have a huge craft room, so everything that I have in there has to have a place. I can't have things just sitting idle because I simply don't have the room for that. So like I say, just building these pieces up, using my double-sided tape to stick them all down. And then once this piece is down, you'll see I have to do a little bit of finagling because the 6 by 6 paper isn't quite long enough really for what I want it to do. So I have to move this notebook paper and tear a little bit more off the bottom to make it work. So just going along with my nail to distress the top edges of this paper. It looked a bit odd being a neat edge when everything else was distressed. So I go around. The glue from the 6 by 6 paper pad was a bit stuck on there, so just pulling that off before I carry on distressing. So just finishing this. and then you'll see what I mean about having to just have a little play and pull things up a little bit. Luckily, these are really high quality papers with a nice, ever so slight sheen to them, so when you do have to pull the double-sided tape up, it works. If you haven't left it too long, you can pull things up. So as you see, just carefully pulling this, and I should move the whole of the rest of the mat up that page a little bit, like that, and then tear a little bit off the bottom, just so that it fits better onto that 6x6 paper. And again, once I stick this down onto that 6x6 paper, you'll see I decide that the edges are a little bit too wide. So again, I pull it up once again and trim a little bit off the edge. But I think it's important when you see something like that, it's important to change it, because otherwise it's just going to annoy you every time you look at it. So if it's possible, definitely change. So the double-sided tape is dual purpose really here, because it is holding all those layers together as well on the bottom. You saw when I was creating this mat, there were only a couple of bits of double-sided tape holding each piece of paper on, but putting them across, right the way across the papers like that, just holds everything together. So as soon as I put that down, I see that I'm not really happy with the size, so just pulling it back again. I could have just trimmed a little bit off each side, but I'd already distressed the edges, and the piece that I cut off is actually big enough to use on a different layout, so I shall keep that. You can see just there. So again, just distressing this edge. And that's the photo mat done. So now I can get on with the mixed media. So here's that stencil that I was mentioning with the waves on it, and I'm going to use my Tim Holtz matte texture paste to go through this, just to create a really nice photo mat for underneath. And once the texture paste is dry, I'll go in with some Distress Oxide inks watered down to add colour. So I need to create a mat wider than the stencil is. The stencil is 6x8, and I want the mat to be around 8x8. So I just if I was patient, I would have waited for this bit to dry and then done the second bit, but I'm not. So you'll see, I just carefully position it on, trying to hold the edges up a little bit and try to match up as best I can. And yeah, at first it wiggles a bit, but then the texture paste holds it down. And just holding the edges up so it doesn't smush that texture paste underneath the right hand edge too much. Just add a little bit more there. And I'm not totally happy with that straight edge on the right hand side, but it's fine. By the time I've added this Distress Oxide ink, you won't really notice, because I'll blend that over the edges. So I'm going in with 3 colours here to start with. We've got Ice Spruce, which is the first one that I'll go in. Speckled Egg is the blue, and Bundled Sage is the green. These are colours that I use all the time. I think they're some of the most versatile colours from the collection for me, certainly. They're my colour palette. So just adding the different colours all the way around the edges. Don't need to do the middle because the photo mat will cover up the middle, so just splodging it all in. And this video is all going swimmingly well, and I absolutely adore the finished layout, but I've got a confession. When I waited for this ink to dry before carrying on with videoing, and when I was setting up, I used my phone camera, and when I was setting the phone up on the tripod, I must have inadvertently pressed record while I was setting it up. So when I pressed record, what I thought was pressing record again, it actually stopped the recording. So I don't have the final embellishing of this layout on film, which I'm gutted about. So when I finish this portion of the voiceover showing you how I've added the mixed media, I shall talk you through exactly what I did next. So I'm really sorry about that. First time it's happened, and I was devastated when I realised last night. So just coming in with some Chipped Sapphire to add a darker blue, because these colours do dry much lighter. So I was conscious that it was a very, very pale background, and I wanted to bring in a bit more of that blue. So just dotting that around, and then I'll go in with some splatters and then leave it to dry. So here it is, the finished layout. This is a bit of a different video for me. Again, my apologies. So I just wanted to show you what I did. Once the mixed media was dry, I stuck my photo mat down just with glue and double-sided tape to get a really good adhesion there. This sticker went on next, and this is from the 6x12 sticker sheet. Then I started fussy cutting a lot of pieces. Most of these pieces that you see here are fussy cut from the 6x6 paper pad. So first of all, this paper that's in there, I had one piece from that, I can't remember, I think it might be this Explore piece, came from there. And the main one, which I cut everything apart from, was this one here, and it gave some great pieces. So we've got this ticket that was here. Some of these bits were used, were they? No, maybe not. I'd intended to, but I haven't. But I've got a tub here full of all the bits and pieces. There was also a circle sheet that had circles that I just punched out with my 1-inch circle punch, and everything else was just fussy cut. So, as I say, this ticket I wrote the date on. These little bits here, these 3 chipboard pieces, are from the frame set, the 6x12 frame stickers, and I use one of the frames here. I've actually mounted that onto foam. If you can see, the 2 bits that aren't stuck onto the photo mat are on foam, just to give that dimension. Again, these bits are all fussy cut from those 6x6 papers, and that's pretty much it. So I was just layering up. I used some grey linen thread to tie through the tags. Again, struggled with that, but got there in the end. I may need to add some glue to that just to glue it down. And then my title, Carrick Rede Rope Bridge, was created using some very old Jelly Bean Soup grey alphabet stickers. And I added my journaling at the bottom, and that just reads, "We left Bangor and it was cloudy and cold, so wrapped up as the Antrim coast is always even colder, but we arrived to brilliant sunshine and it was baking hot. In desperation, we bought Amelia a souvenir t-shirt from the gift shop to wear. She was 5 and they only had adult sizes. It swamped her, but she adored it." And she really did adore that t-shirt. In fact, we only just threw it away because it wore out. She lived in it. She does like her souvenirs from Northern Ireland, to be sure. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. Please do check the description box down below for everybody else who's been joining in on this hop. If you enjoy my videos, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel, give this video a like, and any comments that you've got, please do put down below and I'll correspond with you there. Otherwise, I shall see you tomorrow for the next sketch. Thanks so much. Bye.